Hey, and welcome to the Easy Graphics 101. In this specific video course, I'm going to show you how to edit graphics, and we're going to cover a lot of basic fundamentals so that you can create graphics, create banners, create headers, and so forth. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of screen capture, so you're going to be able to look over my shoulder and follow me click by click. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. This is video number one. It's the introduction to graphics editing, and before I move on, I want to talk about a quick overview so you have an idea of all the videos in the specific video, how they relate to each other, and knowing this, I know it'll help you implement this quicker and easier. First of all, this is video number one. Video number two, we're going to talk about how to download and how to install paint.net. And downloading and installing is easy, but how do you set it up and everything like that? Video number three, we're going to talk about understanding paint.net's features and tools. So we're going to go throughout the whole paint.net system in terms of the basic fundamentals, and I'll show you, how to use certain tools, what tools mean, and this and that. That way you have an idea of how everything works, and then you understand when we move on to video number four and so forth, how to actually use the system. Video number four, we're going to talk about catchy text, basically how to create catchy text for your headers, for your website or anything like that. And then we're going to talk about mirroring. If you're not familiar with mirroring, it's basically nowadays, especially in 2012 and so forth, we have something called Web 2.0. With Web 2.0, you'll notice that a lot of text is mirrored. So let's say, for example, you have a word that says hello or a title that says Easy Graphics 101. And then you have a mirror effect, so you kind of see like a mirror effect for that text. And I'm going to show you how to do that just because it makes it professional and interesting. Video number five, we're going to talk about catchy shapes, how to use shapes effectively in your images and so forth. Video number six, we're going to talk about how to remove the background of a picture. Let's say, for example, that you found a picture on a royalty-free site, and it's a picture of somebody that you want, however, you don't want the background. You want to put them on a white background, or you want to take that object, person, object, machine, whatever, or building or anything like that, any type of objects, you want to take them out of that background and put it into another background. I'll show you how to do it the quick and easy way. Video number seven, we're going to talk about layers. Layers are your friends. If you imagine, let's say you have like 10 sheets of clear, transparent plastic, and each of those pieces of plastic have some sort of image on them. So imagine you can change the layers, you can move objects around and so forth. So layers are your friends, and they make editing a lot easier. In fact, I would say out of all this video series, layers, if you can master layers and removing a picture from its background, then you pretty much can do a whole lot with layers. Video number eight, we're going to talk about plugins. Paint.net has plugins that can make your software more powerful if you choose to do so. You don't have to, but this is an option that you can take if you choose to do so. Video number nine, we're going to talk about banners and headers. How to make professional looking banners. How to make professional looking headers that you can add to your website. Banners that you can add to your website or you can use to market your products and this and that. So with that said, let's talk about the tools that you're going to need. You're going to need paint.net in this specific course, of course. Now, keep in mind that the concepts that I'm going to teach you, they can apply to just about any other tool. They can apply to Adobe Photoshop. They can apply to GIMP. Let's say, for example, that you want to use something like GIMP. It's not going to be the exact same layout, but it's going to be similar concepts. So you can use GIMP if you want to, but I personally use paint.net, and I'm going to use that for this specific course. Paint.net is free, and I found personally it to be better than GIMP, but some of you might want to try out GIMP and this and that. The last thing that you're going to need is you're going to need graphics. And in fact, in this video course, I'm going to use pictures that I personally got from bigstockphoto.com. Let's say you get a picture from bigstockphoto.com. If you were to use that picture and if it was not a royalty-free site, then you would have to pay, every product that you sold. Well, with a royalty-free picture site, you pay it once and that's it for that specific product. So with that said, let's move on to the second video, and I'm going to show you how to install and set up paint.net correctly so that you can properly begin to edit the graphics. Hey, and welcome to video number 2. In this specific video, we're going to talk about how to download and install paint.net and how to set it up properly so you can begin to use it. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. To get to the site, you want to go to Google and type in paint.net, which is located, the site is located at getpaint.net. So I'm going to go here, and then simply at the top, click on the download link. Now, the reason why I wanted to create this video is so that you understand that you can install paint.net. Some of you, when you install paint.net, it's going to be a simple, seamless, no problem installation. But some of you, when you install paint.net and you do not have the Microsoft .NET framework, if you do not have it, then either paint.net will prompt you or you can try downloading it yourself. So that's something that I want to make sure that you understand. It's not a hard process. It's just something that you need to be aware of, and that paint.net, of course, only works with Windows. And one computer, like the computer that I'm working on right now, I install paint.net with no problem at all. And to do that, just simply click on download now here, and then click on this link up here. It's a zip file, and once you unzip the file, it's going to appear here, and all you have to do is double click it and just follow the directions to doing so. And so if you do not have .NET, like say for example my other desktop, my desktop did not have .NET framework, and then therefore I installed it, and then paint.net said no, you need the .NET framework, and it's this link here. And it's very, very easy to install. In fact, it sends you to the download page here. All you have to do is click download, follow the directions to get the .NET framework to get it installed. Once you're done with that, and let's say that you've had success on the installation, and now it's time to open paint.net. So to access it, you can either find the link or the icon on your desktop and so forth, or you can open, let's say, click on the start button here and then click in the search area, paint. And if you successfully installed it, then you'll see paint.net right here. And when you click on that, I've already opened it up here, but this is what paint.net looks like. I preferably like paint.net more than I do GIMP. But if you have a Macintosh, then GIMP is the way to go. But in this specific video course, and pretty much Adobe Photoshop, GIMP, all these different programs are very similar. Like if I'm looking at these tools right here, the same tools that are being used here, a lot of them are being used in Adobe Photoshop. However, with Adobe Photoshop, you don't need all the bells and whistles to create basic stuff. So this is what paint.net looks like, and in the next video I'm going to go give you a deeper course and a deeper dive through exactly on all the features, all the tools, and at least the fundamental tools that you're going to need. Hey, and welcome to video number 3. We're going to talk about understanding paint.net's features and tools so that you can get fully acquainted with how paint.net works, what kind of features that they offer, so that you can dive in with video number 4 to 9. Just gets easier and easier from that point. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. Before I move into this area here, I want to talk about the links at the top. So this is pretty self-explanatory, you know, you save file and so forth, and editing is pretty self-explanatory. But when we move into the view section, this allows you to zoom in and out, and of course there are shortcut keys. I prefer to use the shortcut keys to zoom in and out. You can see the actual size. Let's say you're zoomed in and you want to see the actual size, you can do that. What I try to do is when I use Paint.net is to turn this option on, the rollers, because this will give you an idea of how big your picture is and how big your header is. Let's say you want your banner to be 486 by, let's say, 68 pixels, and you're going to need to be 4 over here. So the ruler really helps. So when I get started, I try to turn the ruler on. And you can change the measurements between pixels, inches, and centimeters, but by graphics, usually graphics are measured by pixels. So I just keep it at pixels by default. Under the image section, you can crop to selection, but this will only appear if you have an image. So if you want to have an image and you want to crop it, then you can do that. So let's say, for example, that I make this black and I want to, let's say, crop the selection. So I would just click on this. Let's say that I just want that little itty bitty rectangle. Then I just click on image, crop the selection. What that does is it just takes out everything and it removes everything but it removes everything but that little area that I selected. But I just wanted to show you that. Resize is, of course, resizing the image. Canvas size is, of course, the whole canvas. If I want to flip the image horizontally, I can do that. Here, I can do that vertically. I can rotate it clockwise, counterclockwise. I can rotate it 180 degrees, and so forth. And you can flatten. Flatten means that, let's say you have layers. You have 10 layers on top of each other, and you just want to turn all those 10 layers into one image. You can do that by flattening it. And under layers, this gives you the ability to add a new layer, to duplicate a layer. Let's say you have a layer of a checkbox and you want another checkbox. So you just choose that checkbox and then you can duplicate that layer. Now I'm going to talk more about layers in the future videos on layers. But layers are your friends, and layers definitely make your life easier. Adjustments. So let's say you have an image and you want to make it brighter, or you want to make it black and white. You want to change the contrast. You want to change the curves. You want to change the hue and saturation. You want to invert the colors. You can change the levels. Levels often used if, let's say you take a picture of something and it's really dark, and you can use levels to brighten that photo up without just doing brightness and contrast. And you can posterize this and that. Those are just adjustments. Effects are stuff that you can do to your images as well. For example, let's say you have a picture and you want to convert that picture into an oil painting so that your picture looks like an oil painting. Or you want to turn that picture into a blur. And there's specific types of blurs, as you can see here. Or distort so this is just an effect. All this does is it converts your image into whatever you choose. Like red eye removal. If your picture has a lot of people with red eyes, back in the day when you take a picture, or even now, you have red eyes and you can remove that. So this gives you the ability to not only change your existing images, but also to tweak and edit and stylize and so forth your newer images. Utilities, that's just a section to manage your fonts, change the language and so forth. So you're probably not going to use this section as much unless you check for updates for the program. The Windows section is actually what you see. These are windows. Like this is a window, this is a window, this is a window, this is a window. So let's say, for example, I want to, if I remove, accidentally click that. If I accidentally click the tools and I exit that, I'm like, oops, I want to get that back. Then you click on window, click on tools, and you see you can make it appear again. So if you lose that, don't worry. All you have to do is go under the tools section and then click on that. So as we can see right now, the tools, the history, the layers, the colors are all open. And you can do that too, but that's not necessary. Now, if you were using, of course, Adobe Photoshop and you clicked on Windows, you would see a large list of windows, like action scripts and this and that. But if you're trying to do the basic stuff, you're not really looking to, create a website and this and that, and just do basic graphic editing, this is pretty much what I use, and I've been doing graphic editing for a long time. But in terms of something quick and easy to do that does not cost any money, this is a great tool. And what I like most about it is it has layers. Now, let me go through each of these windows now that I've discussed to you basically this stuff here. This is the tools box, so you're going to use this tools box a lot. And if you've used even Paintbrush or even the basic paint, you know what these tools are all about. Well, with Paint.net, it actually goes beyond just basic tools. Like if I click on the rectangle here, you'll see these drop-down menus at the top. And if you click on that, you can see the list of tools, but you can also see like selection mode and this and that. So you have other abilities within that selection mode. So selection mode just means that you select something, kind of like what I did earlier. And then this here is just like a mouse cursor that allows you to drag and drop and move things around. And if you ever make a mistake, then you can click edit and undo. Or if you click Control Z, which is a shortcut I like to use, because let's say you make a bunch of mistakes and you want to go back. Another thing you can do is look at the history. For example, as you can see, watch carefully as I do stuff. As you can see, this is the history. So that means like if I want to go back, all the way back to the original, I just click on this. But if I want to go back to a specific point, I can just click that and so forth. And what I like about this tool is let's say that I go back and I said, no, oops, I accidentally did the wrong thing. I actually want to go back forward. So I click on that. So I get back to my place. So that's what I like about Paint.net. It's pretty neat. So the history is a very useful tool if you make a mistake and if you want to revert back or forth, then that's the beauty of that. So that's that. The lasso tool basically allows you to, as you can see, draw around a shape, and we'll be using this to kind of remove a background and so forth. This tool is Move Selection, so it allows you to move things around and so forth. This tool here it's an ellipse, basically a circle, and you can select an area. So you can make a circle, you can make an oval, you can make an egg, and so forth. And if you want to move that selection around, you can move that with using this. Magic Wand tool, if you're not familiar with the Magic Wand tool, we'll actually use that more when we actually create stuff. But the Magic Wand tool is a highly used tool let's say you want to select an area, like there's a person here and you want to select the background around them. The magic wand tool helps you to do that in combination with the lasso select tool. And this here allows you to pan back and forth. This of course allows you, it's the bucket, so as you can see you can change colors and so forth. Gradient basically allows you to create gradients. So you have solid colors and then you can have gradients here. So let's say for example I just wanted this piece over here. So I could take the lasso tool and just take that out here. I could do something like crop selection, and there we go. So that's a gradient tool. This is the paintbrush. This of course allows you to paint, and this of course allows you to erase. And of course you can increase the brush if you want to simply by going up here. So if you've noticed a pattern here, every time I choose an option, you want to look at the top here because there might be other options up here. This is the pencil tool, basically like the paintbrush, but it makes it thinner. This gives you the ability to pick colors on the page. So right now it's white, but let's say for example that I fill it in with this color and then I make this color into, let's see, yellow. And then if I were to use this color picker tool and it was that color and I wanted to make it this color, all I would have to do is click on it and then it would turn whatever I point my color picker to, it would turn that color into that color. So then I can use that color. This is the clone stamp. Basically just clones the areas. Recolor gives you the ability to recolor areas, but we won't use these tools as much. This is the text tool, of course, which gives you the ability to create text and so forth. This gives you the ability to create lines and curves. This gives the ability to create rectangles. You can create bigger rectangles, smaller rectangles, and so forth. You can create the color of the rectangle, whether it's a filled shape, an outline, and so forth. And these right here are just a bunch of other shapes. So we talked about the history, we talked about the tools, we talked about colors indirectly by showing you how to use it, and layers, we'll talk more about layers later on. But as you can see here, this is one layer here. Layers will make your life a lot easier. So that's pretty much it. As you can see, it's very, very simple to use. So with that said, let's move on to video number 4. Hey, and welcome to video number 4. I'm going to show you how to create catchy text as well as creating that cool mirroring effect with your text. So I'm going to split this video up into 3 different steps. Step number 1, I'm going to show you how to create text. And then step number 2, I'm going to show you how to turn that text into a gradient. Gradient meaning if you look at, let's say, a text, it looks like this. Imagine this was one color, if it was blue. And you know how you have lighter shades of blue and darker shades of blue? Kind of like that shiny looking effect. So I'm going to show you how to do that in step number 2. And then step number 3, I'm going to show you how to do the mirroring effect. Kind of like what we talked about earlier. So I'm going to show you how to do that. But it's a step-by-step process so that you can learn, fairly easy from step number 1 to step number 3. And it'll be very easy for you to implement once you understand that. Step number 1 is, of course, to create a text. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. All you have to do is click on the text here and then choose the color that you want to make. So in this case, I'm just going to keep it at, let's say, dark blue. And then I'm going to click somewhere, doesn't matter where you click it, and then I'm just going to enter the text. Now if you want to change the font, you can do so by clicking here, and as you can see, the beauty of Paint.net is it shows you what the font looks like. So you can pick and choose whatever font you want it to look like. So if I wanted to change from cursive to, let's say, this one here, I can do that. And then if you want to change the size, you just change the size here. And I'll just keep it at 192. If you want to bold it, you can. If you want to italicize it, underline it, put a strike through it, you can do that. If you want to move the text around, you will see this square box here with the arrows. Simply click on that and just move it around wherever you want it to be moved around. Alright. Now the second step is, of course, I'm going to show you how to create a gradient in terms of the text itself. Now I know I talked about that I'm going to use layers in the future videos, and I'm going to dive deeper into that later on, but I want to show you something cool. In order to create, mirroring effects and so forth and gradients, you're going to need to use layers. So to keep it simple, however, I'm just going to use one layer, and that's it. So I'm going to start from scratch. Whenever you create a gradient or anything like that, then mirroring effects, you're going to need to create one layer. So all you have to do is click layer and click add new layer. And Paint.net is automatically going to give you a layer with no background. And that's what we want. So I'm going to uncheck this. All that means is that it makes it disappear just for the moment. And I'm going to click on the same text, click text, and add the text that I want to. And the next thing I'm going to do is use this magic wand tool. What this magic wand tool does is it allows you to select an area. So because we're dealing with text and we're not dealing with anything complicated, you don't have to worry about anything up here. So simply click on that and then hold the shift key. So you want to hold the shift key down and select that. And as we can see, it was selected all the way from here, here, and here. And normally you would hold the shift key and select these just inside the blue area or whatever color that you choose. Once that's done, you simply click on the gradient option here. There are different types of gradients. There are linear, reflected, diamond, and as you can see, you can get an idea of what it is. So I'm just going to choose linear, and what that means is now that we have this text selected, all you have to do is click anywhere you want, and as you can see, you're creating a gradient here. And if I hold the mouse and I put it down, as you can see here, you're creating a gradient more on a horizontal level. Now I can choose the color that I want to red if I want to, or pink or whatever. As long as you're using the color wheel here, that's fine. So that's how to create a gradient, and using this knowledge, you're going to be able to create the mirror effect. And I'm going to start from scratch, and the last step is to show you how to create the mirror effect. So I've started with a clean slate here, and I'm going to remove the background here. And you can use the background later if you want to, and I'll actually show you how to do that. In this case, you're creating two different layers. Imagine you're looking at a mirror and you see yourself, and if you're looking from a outside view, you see yourself in the mirror and you see yourself standing there. In this case, there are two different layers. It's just a duplicate layer of the first layer. So just keep that in mind. Using the information that I showed you earlier, you want to create a new layer, and then we'll just uncheck this. And actually, I'll leave that here just so you can see, what happens and so forth. So, of course, step number 1, click on the text tool, and then choose a color that you want. Now, the background, let's see here. I'm going to probably change the background color to something darker just so you can see the mirror effect. So, let's say that I'm going to choose dark blue. And then I want to change the color of the background. So as long as the background is checked, then and you click on it, then I'm editing the background. Now I want to fill this up, so I want to use the paint bucket tool and simply change the color, and that's it. Now I want to deal with the first layer, or the text layer. So I want to click on the text tool and make sure this is checked. And since it's dark blue, I want something lighter, let's say for example white. So I'm going to choose white here. Oops. And you can change the colors of the color wheel here. If you click on here, it'll change the color of that. If you click on here, it'll change the color of that. So that's just something to keep in mind. I'm going to move this to the side so that you can see this area here. Click on text, click here, and then add the text. And then, of course, move that to the location. Now, because we're dealing with a mirror effect, I'm going to make this a little smaller because there are going to be 2 layers involved. So I'm going to move this to the very top, and then that's all we've done. Now, remember how I talked about the mirror is like a second layer, but it's basically like a duplicate layer. So as long as this is checked, all you have to do is go to layers and click on duplicate layer. Duplicate layer, and then as we can see, if we click on the move tool here, you see that we've created 2 text. Alright. Now I want to flip that because it's a mirror effect, right? So to do that, all I have to do is make sure that I have that text selected. And anytime you move a layer, I'm not going to be able to move this layer unless I choose that layer, as you can see here. But I'm going to click on this, and then I'm going to flip that layer. So you can either flip it horizontally or flip it vertically. We want to flip it vertically so it looks like this. Aha! So you're kind of getting an idea here. So you can use the arrows on the keypad to do this. Alright, so you've created a mirror effect. What now? Using the information that I showed you in step number 2 to create a gradient, you're basically going to turn this second layer into a gradient. To do that, like I showed you earlier, basically pick a color, any color that you want. I guess in this case we'll just pick, we'll stick with the dark blue. And then once you've picked a color, and if you're not familiar with what I just did, I basically clicked on the color picker to figure out what color was on the background. And then I'm going to click on the gradient tool. Oh, of course I've missed a step. Of course I need to select that layer. So make sure you select the right layer first. Once you select that layer, use the magic wand tool. And then hold the shift key, just as we did in step number 2. And then after that is selected and you see the outline selected, now it's time to use the gradient tool. Simply click, and then what I would do is just either push up. See, if you push down or you hold the mouse down, then it's not going to be like that mirror effect closest to the center. So let's say do that. And then you'll see this little circle thing. If I make this circle thing, as you can see, it gets darker. So just play around with that a little bit. And I'm almost done. The next thing I want to do is probably cut this in half. So what I mean by that is, okay, you're looking at this and you see the mirror effect here, but you really don't care about this stuff here. So what you can do is just highlight that and then delete it. Hit delete. And you can play around with it if you want to, change the gradient a little bit. Oops. Yeah, so don't forget to click the magic wand tool to select that layer. And that's it. That's how to create a mirror effect. You can play around with it a little bit more with the gradient tool to make it a little look better and so forth.